Hello and welcome, I'm Dante from Lowmanor, and today I am looking into what we learned from IGN's interview with Jon Warner. Rather than cover each question and just repeat what they've said, I have transcribed all of them and will post them in a Reddit post in the description below, along with a link to the IGN interview. So you may want to check out all of that information yourself if you prefer. There is a lot to unpack here, so I'll start with some of the basics. Further confirmation that our pilot will be separate to the javelins, meaning we won't be tied to one javelin and have to replay the whole story if we want to be able to play another javelin. This is exactly what I wanted. We even have confirmation that both parts level up separately. The pilot gains universal skills, and the javelins gain more customization options over time. I would take a guess that the pilot skills primarily increase the efficiency of the javelins. Increased flight times, access to weapons, traders, perhaps even crafting skills to use collected resources. So many possibilities. We also got a bit more information about the world and how we share it with others. In my last video I mentioned the hub locations being specifically solo player areas. Now we have a little more information about the shared space. Fortunately, Anthem will be operating on dedicated servers, which apart from being great from a netcoding perspective, allow Bungie to be more creative with how the world operates, specifically making everything consistent across all servers. The day-night cycles, weather changes, and events will be identical regardless of where you are in the world, meaning a more consistent experience and to share experiences even when in different groups to your friends. Which ties nicely into the world events we learnt about, world bosses such as this giant ash golem that was mentioned. Something for multiple teams to fight out in the world, or at least an event you can discover when flying around or buy one of the features I'll get into shortly. There are also environmental events as the machinery interacts with the world, creating the storms, modifying the creatures, even evolving their powers until we as a community overcome it. Then there are strongholds, like the ones we saw in the gameplay footage. Large compounds occupied by other factions or overrun by the wildlife that can be freed for rewards. Designed around a 4-player team to work together, which to me sounds like a new twist on dungeons. It could even be one of the many versions of the dungeons we have the ability to join. Combined with their dynamic ecosystems, they may only be available when other events are taking place. Perhaps a Shaper Storm forces the wildlife to overthrow a compound, or a large beast has turned one into its nest. As we also learnt, the ecosystem is actually affected by other things happening in the environment. Day and night cycles will spawn different creatures. Rain may attract different monsters that you won't see in other parts of the day. Who knows what strange and dangerous effects the Shapers will have on them, leading me nicely into the world map feature. The primary way that you'll see what there is to do, what missions are currently active, what events are running, etc. With the ability to join any of these open events on the map, dropping into an instance partway through, indicating drop in and drop out play, as well as a possible fast travel system and a way to group up and head out with your friends. Although it's not clear if you can do this from anywhere, or if you need to be in some sort of hub locations. Maybe you can just open your map while exploring and be transported to an event somewhere else in the world. But what if you just want to play by yourself? What is there to do? Jon confirms that ideally the game should be played with others, and that they have worked on tools to match you up with others via the world map. That said, it is possible to play alone. The entire main story mission can be played alone as long as you approach it in a less reckless way, thinking ahead in your engagements, especially on the glass cannon javelins such as the Storm. You can also explore the world out in the open. There are lots of caverns, underwater environments, forests, ruins and more to be explored, each with their own lore and stories to discover, along with uncovering new areas that you can later find as you push back the fog of war, opening up your world map even further. As you can imagine, I'm really excited about the lore of Anthem, and being able to uncover those stories in-game is something a lot of games recently have struggled with. Fortunately, BioWare are famous for just that. Their writing, their stories, in-depth believable worlds and characters you can relate to. That appears to be no different here, with the world being built from the bottom up. Its lore tying in to prevent contradictions that have been the cause of many retcons in games such as Overwatch and Destiny. We already know a little about Anthem's world, that it was created by gods that abandoned it partway through, leaving behind creation machines known as Shapers. But why? And are they really gods if they use machines to build a world? This feels like a rich lore to draw upon, and sets up a long story goal to either uncover or at a minimum work towards understanding, while also dealing with what has been confirmed as the main antagonist, the Dominion. another human faction with opposing views to our freelancers, who we also learn a nice little fact about. The freelancer faction is actually just a splinter of a previous, much larger and probably more powerful one, the Legion of Dawn. The first people to use javelins, either because they created them or discovered them. For some reason they crumbled and split into sub-factions. I wouldn't be too surprised if we eventually learn that all known factions stem from this former empire long ago. Political intrigue story, anyone? Anyway, back to what we know and not my rampant speculation. The movement of Anthem has been something in the community we've been speculating about since last E3, and we have some clarification as to how it works. Each javelin will have a heat gauge, much like in MechWarrior or Battletech if you've ever tried those out. What this means for us though is that although we can fly wherever we want, there are some limitations. However, there are some interesting ways around this, as Jon actually confirms for us. Interacting with water will cool your jets, so to speak, meaning flying through waterfalls, for example, will reduce our heat levels and so will submerging ourselves in the water. So there will be some skill to flying, not just flying from point A to point B, but instead traversing the environment, knowing when to land and rest, how to identify ways of being more efficient while flying, and spotting hidden areas while on the move. Whether that be from diving into a lake to discover an underwater cavern lost in time, or bouncing from waterfall to waterfall as you traverse a mountain to discover a new peak with an outpost not used in years. The potential for not only enjoyable large-scale platforming, but to add a deep lore to explain the world with these mechanics is something I've missed in games for a long time. Perhaps rewarding you with loot, hidden hub locations, or just something cosmetic to show how much you like to explore or dig into the world's lore. And finally, from this interview, I want to touch on the monetization of Anthem. It will have a one-off cost for the base game, that includes the story and all endgame content, whatever that eventually will include. But it's also a live service, which means an additional method is required to sustain the game. Currently we have no idea if there will be expansions or not, but additional story, events and group events are planned. Fortunately, EA, at least in this case, has not opted into loot boxes, which in all likelihood is the result of the backlash they received from Battlefront, rather than BioWare's influence over the decision, showing that the community's response to monetization does have an effect, and in its place we have what in my opinion is a much more ethical solution: cosmetics with upfront costs, so we can decorate our javelins with unique skins. Knowing what you're purchasing upfront is always better than random mystery items that you may or may not want. That said, I do still hope they don't abuse this in the way that Destiny 2 did, by making in-game cosmetics boring, hard to obtain and limited use. If they can maintain a balance of quality, purchasable cosmetics in combination with in-game availability, rewards from playing and for achieving certain goals and achievements, then I think BioWare and by association EA will earn themselves a significant amount of loyalty when it comes to Anthem. It's still early, but I like to remain positive, so for now I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I can't wait to get my grubby hands on some more sweet lore. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section below and what would you like to see me cover next. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to support the channel, and click the little bell for notifications as content goes live. Until next time, I've been Dante, thanks for watching.